Well, hey, Lashpreneurs, happy Monday to you. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the realities of being fully booked. I know we've kind of been talking the last few weeks about knowing your numbers. We had a stellar Know Your Numbers masterclass. That class is still available. It is just now the full price, so you can always go register for it if you missed out on the sale that we had going on, but you can go to lashpreneur.com/know your numbers. If you missed the opportunity to show up the live class, the replay is still there. It's still built out as a course. You get lifetime access to it, but we had a great turnout. So thank you to everybody who showed up. You guys were amazing. It was a blast. I love doing those classes. And in fact, we're going to do another class coming up in a few weeks just because I love teaching. So I'll get to that a little bit more later in the episode. But we're going to talk about what does life and business look like when you get to fully booked. There's a couple of different things that happen that most people aren't aware of until you get to that point in your business that I wanted to shed some light on and talk about what happens after fully booked. It's like you get fully booked, what now? Right? That is the question that we all run to when we are like so focused on growing a business. And then we get to the point that we wanted to get to. We reach an amazing goal, like fully booked. And then we go, okay, what next? And I can tell you what a lot of people end up doing that ends up being a little more complicated. I can give you some different options that are common in our industry, and I'm going to go through those through the easiest thing to do versus the most complex and the most challenging. And then we're going to talk about, some options after that. So let's just get into it. No more teasing the episode. Let's just dive right in. So what does it look like to be fully booked? So when you're fully booked, you have a full clientele of repeat appointments. So you have a regular clientele. These are not new clients coming in. They're mainly return customers. Occasionally, you might be able to fit in one or two new clients, but for the most part, you're fully booked with regular clients. It's a beautiful place to be. It is for most of you solo gals. It's the juicy carrot, the thing that you're working towards. And you may start off where you have one day fully booked, then 1 week fully booked, and then it starts moving into a couple weeks fully booked. And sometimes people get fully booked months and months and months and months out. I know like a lot of permanent makeup artists, they'll be booked a year out sometimes if they're really good and they're not managing their growth very well. So the realities of being fully booked is it actually is fairly stressful. I know it sounds like it's good problems to have, let's be real, but it can be very stressful because your regulars have to keep their appointment times, because if for whatever reason they need to change them, even a week ahead of time or 2 weeks ahead of time, you don't have another opening for them. Now, I believe in last week's episode, we talked about the definition of fully booked being 80% productivity, meaning you're not back to back 100% booked. You have a little bit of leeway for you to turn over the room, for you to take a bathroom break. But the reality is that when you start to get fully booked, if a client needs to move their appointment, you may not have availability. And that's a really stressful place to be in because these are your regulars. Like maybe this is one of your OG clients and she has a meeting scheduled that came up kind of last minute or the week before. So she needs to move her appointment. And you look at your calendar and you go, well, I'm sorry, Sally. My next available is in 6 weeks. And she's like, well, girl, you got to fit me in. Yeah, I want to. I can put you on a wait list and see if anybody else moves their appointment. But people are pretty savvy that if they try to move an appointment, there is no availability. So what do you do? Right? Well, in those situations, what often ends up happening is that the business owner or service provider will add them onto a day of already fully booked clients. So, if you max yourself out at say 4 or 5 clients or even 6 clients in a day, and Sally needs to move her appointment to the following Wednesday and you already have 6 clients booked, you're either coming in earlier or you're staying later just for Sally. And you start making these one-off exceptions, except that becomes a fairly regular thing. Clients do move appointments. It happens. Even if it's outside of your cancellation window, they're not doing it because they forgot. They're doing it because their schedule changes. That's life. It evolves. It's not always consistent as much as we want it to be. And that's a really stressful place to be in. And it also is causing your customer experience to go down, right? Because now they don't dare move their appointment, even though it's inconvenient to their life. So now they start resenting their appointments, even though they love the service, but it's just like, God, she's just so busy now. And when you start getting where you add on more clients to the day and more days to the week, your energy and your vibration and your ability to provide stellar customer service starts to go down because you start becoming a puppy mill where you're just pumping out clients all day, every day. And this is where you start to see the schedules that are working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week. And you have a really burned out, although very excited that they're making a lot of money business owner, but it's not sustainable. Because what often happens is that level of repetitive stress on your body means that your body starts to break. You start to get soreness. You start to get back problems. When I was fully booked, I remember I was getting a massage a week a week because I couldn't go 2 weeks without pain. I was getting chiropractic weekly because it was just such a grind on my body to be in that position for 6, 7 hours a day. And some of y'all, I know y'all are in your 20s, some of you who want to work 10, 12 hours a day, it takes its toll. Right? You start having nerve damage, you start getting carpal tunnel, you start getting some numbness in your shoulders, your neck, your back, your hands. And sometimes that can be really damaging and long-term and possibly even permanent. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So the solution to getting fully booked, not always adding more hours to the day or days to the week. That can actually be really detrimental. And it's actually not strategically the smartest move. Because if you're not growing, you're dying, right? If your business is not growing in some way, it's declining and sales are going to continue to decline. And what often happens when you start to get fully booked is you stop marketing, A, because you don't have time. And B, you're like, I have nowhere to put in new clients. So what's the point of marketing if I can't squeeze in new clients? I barely have enough room to get my current clients in. And so when we're not marketing our business, we're definitely not growing. And it's really hard. Sometimes I'll see people in a season of being fully booked, like say over the holidays, and they just don't market during that time because they're super busy and they're booked out and they're back to back to back. And they're like, okay, just going to grind it out for the season. Then January comes and all of a sudden they've had clients drop off and they start to have more openings in their schedule and they start marketing, but they haven't been consistent in marketing. And so they get crickets when they start to market. It affects their algorithm, or people just don't follow them anymore, or people just don't engage with their content. So now they're starting, kind of in a downward marketing spiral, and their marketing just isn't as effective as it was before. Had they, been consistent with their marketing, at least pulled back on their marketing, but not stopped altogether, because it's really, really hard to get marketing back up when you've stopped it for a period of time. So how do we take fully booked and take advantage of it and keep the growth happening in our business? Because when you're fully booked, even at the 80% productivity, like we talked about, there's still going to be demand. That's the beautiful thing, is that you've created a business where you've created demand. So you know how to create demand, and there's still ongoing demand. The people pleasers, right, which most of you are, and when we don't really strategically look at our business, we start making these one-off exceptions, or we start making the client's schedule and the client's wishes and the client's demands our priority number one. And that comes at the cost of the growth of the business or your own health or your well-being. A lot of people who are super fully booked, and I remember, oh gosh, I can't remember her name, at LashCon, this girl's killing it, but she's also killing herself in that she was doing, I think she was working 10 plus hours a day, 7 days a week, and had been for months and months and months. And you could just tell in her face, it's just almost like a zombie. She just was like so exhausted and just so run down at that level and that pace. And I was surprised. Like, I think she had clients in the morning, came to not LashCon, sorry, Lash Boss Summit for a few hours, went back to have clients, then came back to Lash Boss Summit. Like, she was just hustle and grinding. And I asked her why. And she's like, I don't know. I think she was doing anywhere from like $11,000 to $12,000 a month by herself, which is, you would think, impressive, but she's miserable. Like, her body was hurting. You could just tell in her eyes, she's like, I just want to give up. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you. My first question to anybody who is at that pace and at that level, why don't you raise your prices? And oftentimes their response is, well, I just know that my clients can't afford it. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. You have too many clients. This is too much for your body. You can't sustain this. And that lifestyle that you're so dependent on, or, I often ask, and this is my snarky coaching way of doing this, but what are you hiding from? What is it you're avoiding in your life that you're filling with work? Because this is a conditioning, a behavior based on avoidance of something that you're uncomfortable with. Like, this is not a healthy way of operating. So either you're so addicted to the money, but you're not able to spend it, you're not able to enjoy it. So there's something that you're trying to mask emotionally with that level of work. And I know I just hit some of y'all in the gut real hard with that. And you can DM me, we can talk about it so that we can actually create a solution from the root cause, not the symptom of what the root pain is. So what are your options? Well, first and foremost, what we recommend inside of our programs is when you are at 80% productivity for at least 2 to 3 months, we recommend a price increase. And I'll give you guys a guide here in just a second on how to do this strategically. So why 2 to 3 months of being fully booked? Because we want to make sure that the fully booked, the level of demand you have, is not seasonal based, that it's true demand for what you have to offer based on your marketing, your customer experience, your ability to retain clients, get them a result. So oftentimes people may be at 80% or more productivity during the holiday season because there's naturally more demand for our services during that time frame, but that demand may fall off in January and February. So if you have a temporary increase in demand based on the time of year, and you do a big price increase like we recommend you do, then all of a sudden in January you have drop off, people don't want to maintain it, and we have kind of an artificial increase in demand. It's not due to the fact that you can create demand with your services. When you do have true demand for your services, not based on seasonality, you have true demand for your services. When you do a price increase, that demand still stays. Okay. So that's why we recommend waiting at least 2 to 3 months of being fully booked before we do a price increase, because the way that we teach price increase strategies is we recommend a big price increase for very specific reasons. None of this, I'm going to raise my prices $5. That doesn't do jack squat for your bottom line, meaning increasing your sales. It usually comes out of your tip when you're a solo artist. Like, a client going from $95 to $100, they're just going to like tip you less. They're still going to pay the same amount, but you're just charging more and they're going to tip you less typically. Also, clients don't really notice that much of a difference. We're not dropping off clients. And really, at the level of demand when you're fully booked, if you want to keep growing your business, the goal of the price increase is to drop a few clients with the intention and the strategy to keep your income and your sales the same, if not more. Okay. So if we recommend a 20% price increase. So let's say you charge $100 a fill. Well, now you'd be jumping to $120 a fill, with the intention and strategy of clients dropping off. Not all of them, right? If you're in true demand, clients may hem and haw and be upset over it, but they still going to come back. You want to look at their behavior, not their words. There will be plenty of clients, especially if you do a big price increase, that will retaliate verbally in the fact that they'll be upset or they'll be guffawed, if you will. They'll say all sorts of things and whatever. They're going to try and manipulate you to get the price back down, or, make you feel bad about it for whatever reason. But do they keep coming back? And for those that are making you feel bad, for those that are kind of giving you the what have you, those are the clients you probably want to drop off anyways. So hold your ground. You don't have to justify or explain anything on how you run your business to clients. I usually just recommend our students just laugh it off, be like, I know, girl, but look, this economy or whatever, and just joke it off as like, I understand, but this is still happening, right? If a client is truly upset, I totally understand. I'm happy to recommend a couple of other lash artists that may be more affordable to you. Because what we want to do is we actually want to drop off a percentage of clients. And chances are, and I see this more often than not, I see this probably 95% of the time or more, clients don't budge. They don't. Right. And a lot of people who have been resisting raising their prices go, God, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, clients were just like, oh, all right. Yep. I know you deserve it, blah, 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 blah. And they just move on. Right. And so we have actually very few clients that drop off, which then creates a new problem that you're still busy, but at least you're making more. But the goal is, when you're at that level of fully booked and you have had that demand for quite some time, 2 to 3 months, you want to increase your prices with the intention of dropping off some clients so you're not working as much, because usually at that level of demand, it's not super sustainable for the long term. So that would be the easiest thing to do. I recommend doing that before you ever hire a team, anything like that, so you can get your profit margins up. Because when we hire on a team, then we're adding on labor costs. So you need to have a healthy profit margin. Okay. And you need to be able to market at a profitable price point to be able to fill up your team's books. So first and foremost, what does it look like to be fully booked? It can be very stressful, right? It's great. It can be great money, or at least it gives you more control over the income that you make. And then the first option would be price increase. Oh, let me give you that resource. So if you go to the lashpreneur.com/raise your prices, we have a step-by-step way of increasing your price point while minimizing the client drop off. So it's a really effective strategy. However, I want to make sure that you do it step by step and that you're doing a 20% increase. So go to lashpreneur.com/raise your prices. You'll be able to get that download for free. Next up, and this is on the easier side, less complex, before the final option that most people consider when they're fully booked, is hiring on a team. When you build out a team and you hire a team, you're actually just taking the knowledge that you have to create the client results and experience, and you're delegating out to a much cheaper labor cost than you as the owner doing it. That way you can focus on operating the business, the profitability, marketing, training, sales, strategy. Your time and energy can now start to be freed up to focus on the business side of running your business and growing your business. So it's a really great way for you to build out or keep growing your business without growing your time spent in it. Okay. And then third, the last thing that most people consider, a lot of people consider, that is the most complex and the most time intensive and the least profitable thing to do once you're fully booked is become an educator or creating a lash brand. People do this because they want quote unquote passive income that doesn't require their time or that they can charge a lot more for their time. I can tell you this right now, those are separate businesses. They have nothing to do with your service-based business. It is a completely separate audience, completely separate pain points, completely separate solutions. It is completely separate business. While yes, you may be the same person running both and they may be in the same industry, they are not serving the same audience. So you have to think about becoming an educator or a lash brand or having your own products as starting brand new businesses, as if you were going to go open up a Sephora or like a beauty supply store. It is completely separate. You can't use the same audience that you built for beauty services that solves the pain point of how they physically look to sell, become an educator become a lash artist or become whatever, because that's actually an income. That's a job that you're creating, a skill for somebody to go make money off of. It's a completely separate pain point. When you're talking about creating a brand of products, that's likely to get sold to a different audience than those that are coming for beauty services. So it is not the same. It is not an easy transition. And this whole idea of passive income, quote unquote, it's not passive income. Yes, you can make money while you sleep, but I promise you, you are doing a lot every single day in marketing more than anything for both of those. The fulfillment side, the education, the coaching, the delivery of the products, the ordering of the products, that is all a very small fraction of building out those other two businesses. Marketing is going to be the main thing that you do for both of those, right? Then you're also dealing with customer service, right? For lash brands, you have a lot of shipping issues and bad batches. And it's not just opening up and just selling to your local market, because that's a very, very small market. And you have to compete with things like Amazon, right? The convenience aspect of it. You have to figure out what's unique to you. So there's a lot of complexities that come with becoming an educator and becoming a lash brand. You can look at my business. My business, I am an educator, right? I spend very little time doing the actual coaching and fulfillment. It's a couple times a week is that me actually teaching inside of our programs. The most of my time is operations, team management, and marketing, mainly marketing. Even the podcast, it's marketing. So just kind of giving you a picture, something to think about so that you know what you're getting into. So all of that being said, raise your prices. You guys have a guide for that. If you're interested in building out a team, and that's kind of the next thing after you get fully booked, is you want to see how can I start to get some of these clients off of my plate or get some of this demand onto a new team member. Beautiful. We have a new training coming up in just a few weeks. It's called Solo Stressed to Team Success. DM me on Instagram, #team. So #TEAM at the Lashpreneur on Instagram. And you can get on a priority wait list for that training when we open up registration just in a few weeks. So you're just going to DM me that #team and we'll get your email and make sure that you are the first to know when registration opens up for this new class that's happening towards the end of September. That way we'll go over in this class how to hire smarter without the headaches and heartaches that come from the toxic beauty industry hiring practices. I promise you, we teach it in a way that actually works to get you out of the treatment room more, to get you producing profit so you can pay yourself more and building out a great team culture. So you're not going to want to miss out on this class. That's all I have for you today, guys. Have a good one.